Hello, 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 hello. Can y'all hear me? Welcome to Real Talk Live with Arnett D. Love. And it is a pleasure to be in your ear-listening presence. And whether you're watching me or for those who are hearing me, it's a pleasure just to be here with you. And I'm almost at the 2 o'clock hour. So hey, give me some credit for that, y'all. I am trying to make sure that I'm able to afford for those who are not watching or are not subscribed or have not subscribed or do not like this page. I want to make sure you still get what's going on. So listen to me. We're going to talk about SA victims. As some of you may know, I went through that myself when I was younger. And I'll tell you a little bit about that piece. And then I'll also want to talk about, some of the stuff that we have heard in the news. I want to hear what you think about some of this stuff as well, because when does it turn into consensual? How you understand? When does being a victim turn into being consensual? Okay, now I'm talking about adults. I'm not talking about any children, because it's never consensual with a child. Okay, make sure we understand that it's never consensual when it comes to children. But I'm talking about as an adult. When does becoming a victim, or when does being a victim of SA becomes consensual? Okay, and I say that because we all heard about the P. Diddy trial and what's going on with that, and we all know that. I don't know what's so ice cream. Yeah, y'all, I cheated. Okay, so we all know that that he didn't get convicted of the SA and all that, those charges, okay? But I'm not going to go too far into with him, but I just want to ask, when does it become consensual and you're no longer a victim? Because I mean, when you're doing stuff, you're volunteer to do stuff, you're enjoying the things that you're doing, but you're saying that you're a victim. You're making arrangements, you're making plans. At one point, you don't mind doing it because you want to please someone, and a lot of times that's what a lot of people do. I ain't gonna say me, because I'm from me. I ain't gonna lie, that might be why I'm by myself. But if I'm not comfortable with it, I'm not going to do it. But some people, they put other people first, and they'll do things to try to please someone else. So are you still a victim when you do things that you normally wouldn't do, but you want to please someone else? When does it stop? When do you stop being a victim and the situation becomes consensual? That's what I get confused about, because I know when I was attacked, and attacked is what I was. I learned from that. I learned not to open my door for people, for everybody that called themselves a friend. I learned that this won't happen to me again, because matter of fact, I'm going to have a witness in the room with me when next time I do this and open my door for this, that, and the other. I learned from that, because no part of what happened to me was consensual. No part of what happened to me did I want to reoccur. No part of what happened to me was I all right with, and so I'm trying to understand that if you repeatedly did an action and you're saying that you didn't like it and you were uncomfortable, but you made plans to do it, and you made the arrangements, you even made the payments, and at what point did it become consensual that you were no longer a victim? I talk about this because what happens is, I think we mess up things for real victims. Okay? Now, don't get me wrong. Since I had referred to the Diddy trial, at some point, maybe they were victims, right? But then a lot of it, it just seemed like you was consensual, maybe a little embarrassed, and you had your moments, you had your days that you was okay with it. But what about those of us who never had those moments or those days that we're okay with it, but yet we're ignored, and yet people don't believe us, yet we don't tell because we are embarrassed and ashamed of what has happened. Now, let me be transparent because I can't talk for everybody. Y'all know who I am. I don't like to talk for people, and I don't like people to talk for me. So let me explain to you what happened with me when I was attacked. Okay, essay. Attempted essay. Because, baby, to look at me, you wouldn't know, but I am a beast. And so when I was attacked, I was able to fight my attacker off. And I mean fight him off, okay? I'm older now. I don't know what much I can do now. But back then when I was in my late 20s, maybe early 30s, and oh baby, he got the business. But the feeling was still there. The feeling of embarrassment, the feeling of I noticed just didn't happen to me, the feeling of the level of disrespect. What are people going to think that I, being in a leadership position, I couldn't even control the situation, not realizing that situation, wait a minute, y'all, it's getting hot. Not realizing that situation was really not under my control anyways, because this thing had already made up his mind what he was going to do if he was able to overpower me. But he was not able to overpower me, and I just want y'all to know I whipped that hind parts. Do you understand me? Oh, I whipped that hind parts. One thing about me, when I was younger, I'm going to do what I want to do. Okay, I'm going to be with who I want to be with. But it was going to be my choice. And you are not just going to take anything from me. So when I walked around the dorm room, because y'all know I was in the military. When I walked around the dorm rooms, I wore the jumpers, the farmer pants. It was in the 90s and whatnot, that was the style. So I wore those. I felt more comfortable in there because you really have to work to get through those, and I felt like, it gives me time to think about what I'm going to do to my attacker. And thank God I did wear those farmer pants because, honey, that's what I had on when that ninja came to my room and thought he was going to take something that belonged to me and that was not offered to him. And so I had those pants on, baby. And so that was a struggle in itself. So while you struggling trying to get me out of those pants, I'm tearing your face out. I'm tearing your neck up. I'm hitting you all up in here trying to paralyze you. I'm doing what I got to do to save me, because nobody is going to take anything from me. And I meant that. Do you hear me? I'm kneeing him every which way but loose because I'm on my back. I want y'all to understand that this was a big dude. He was just short, and I ain't never really wanted no short men. I am not attracted. Nothing wrong with y'all short men. Don't get me wrong. Okay, but back then, and probably now, just a little bit, you got to be a special kind of short man. But I'm just not attracted to short men. So by no means would he have been my type. You understand? I was short, okay? And I just like men that were tall. And so he was thick too. I was a small frame woman. I was about size 6, size 8. He was thick, and so he was, a little stronger than me. But let me tell you something, I was weakening him. Like I said, I was strikes through the neck and knees to the lower abdomen and below. You know what I'm saying? Elbows, everything that I could think of, he was getting, honey. Punches included, right? but I was on my back, but I was fighting like a dog. I'm telling you, I was fighting like a dog. And so when I got up off of my back, because I'll never forget it, my bed was double wide, because I'm like, it's like you could roll over my bed 3-4 times before you got off, because I had pushed 2 beds together. And so once I got my arm up, the right side up, I was out of there. I stepped in him. If y'all know what I'm saying, I stepped in him to get off of that bed and ran to my door and pulled that door open, because the door was cracked, because we had to have our doors cracked if we had opposite gender in our room. So I pulled the door open, and instead of yelling, I told him, get out of my room. And I couldn't yell, because it was something about yelling and alerting people that I was going through this. I could not do. I could not yell. It was the embarrassment of the situation. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. But I can tell you, because I was able to get over that. So can you just imagine, had I not been able, and I actually fell victim to that, if I couldn't yell, about it, can you imagine that I wouldn't be able to tell what actually had happened to me? I would not be able to reveal it because of the way I felt about it. So I grabbed the door, and I just told him, you better get out of my room. I'm kind of in a whisper talk thing, trying to get him out of my room, but I wasn't yelling for help. And all I had to do was yell for help. That's all I had to do. So he walked over to my door, and he acted as if he was going to leave out. Like I said, he was short, so he was really basically forehead to forehead to me. And so he grabbed the doorknob. And said, no, F that. And he went to grab me, and I took my hand, and I just whopped him right in the throat. Well, it really wasn't the throat. It was over here, It's a vein here. Y'all. And I whopped him in it, okay? And then I was like, you better get the so-and-so out of my room. You know what I'm saying? Because I was ready to go, because I knew that if I didn't yell, we were going to end up in the hallway anyway, because I wasn't letting that door go, and I wasn't letting him get anywhere near my bed again, okay? And so that to me, I was a victim. That was not a situation that I would want to relive. That is not an uncomfort that I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to continue to do this. And I just felt, sometimes in the testimony of what we were given, the briefings and stuff of that trial, I'm trying to figure out, how did you give up the victim status? Back and forth. It's like you went back and forth. 1 minute you're a victim because you don't want to do it, you don't feel like doing it right now, but you knew what was happening, you didn't reach out for help. But I understand the silence. I understand not being able to cry out for help. I understand, even though mine wasn't fear, I do understand the fear that could have possibly been happening. But to consent to certain things, that's what I can't understand, because he would have had to make me do everything. I would have never made any phone calls, paid anybody, or nothing like that. I would have never got upset. I would have never act like I liked it. Everybody would have known that I am there against my will. And so when does being a victim become just consensual? Because, like I said, being a victim myself, there is no way that I'm going to lower my standards or lower my walls, and say, okay, I'm going to do this for you because I want to make you happy. And so we have to teach our young girls to, first of all, validate and love themselves. A person that loves you won't put you in that type of position where you're doing things that you're uncomfortable. I remember people who loved me and cared about me always will check to make sure that I'm okay with anything that I do, with anything that they want to do. They would ask me, is it okay? Do you feel all right about it? That's what I'm used to. I'm not used to just doing something just to please somebody else. Nothing like that. Nothing like that. That's morally wrong in my mind. You understand? So, um, that's why a lot of people don't want to believe real victims, because they want to say that, quote unquote, they brought it on themselves. But honey, don't nobody bring that on yourself. Now, I always say, that's a saying, but doesn't make it right. Okay, because when you say no, when you say I had enough, when you say that I don't want to do this, the person should understand and listen to you and cooperate with you saying that. And a lot of times they won't. So I always taught when I talk to young women, and even my children, my boys, first of all, don't go too far. If you don't want to do it, don't go too far. Don't lead anybody on. You know whether or not you want to do something or not. Okay. Most of the time, so don't go too far. Don't go into a place where it's difficult for you to get out. Don't play around when it's not what you want to do. If you know that you're not going to go to third base, don't go past first. Don't go past first, because at some point you may meet that person that cannot pull away. Okay, you don't leave out your house at 2 o'clock in the morning talking about you going to talk. That's no. Come on, we have to use common sense. We cannot put ourselves in certain predicaments that we know is going to lead to the wrong thing, to the wrong perception. We can't do that. So we don't want to go to certain places or go to certain lengths, knowing that we're not going to go all of the way. And it's okay to not want to go all of the way, but we have to protect ourselves. We have to, be the one to say, okay, this is not what I want to do right now. So I'm going to let them know and be honest with them. And sometimes that's all it takes, just honesty. Listen, I don't want to do this with you. But when you have a predator, okay, at no time should you be making him think that, okay, it's all right to just do it this time. Okay, I'm going to cooperate this time. I'm gonna make you happy this time. No. Every time you let them know that this is unwanted, you're unwelcomed here. You let them know, and at some point, pray for strength. Pray for the ability to get you some help. Okay, because see what I did by just fighting him off, I was safe, right? But what about those behind me? What about the women who couldn't fight him off? What about those who couldn't get him up off of them? What about those who didn't know how to fight? Everybody don't know how to fight. I should have told. This is the only thing that I've ever regretted. And I think I said this before in another video. This is the only thing in my life, the only thing, and I have done some low down dirty stuff, y'all, but I learned from it and I teach from it. But this is the only thing in my life that I have ever regretted, and that is not reporting that incident. And I to this day couldn't tell you who he is, what he looked like. All I know is he was short and he was stalky. That's all I know. And I regret not reporting them. And I pray that no one came after me, but I doubt that happened very seriously. But I pray that they got him. I pray that they got him. I pray that they got him. Because it was a fight, but I was a fighter, you know. So I can only imagine what the next woman, especially if she's afraid, because the fear alone, that right there, either you can win the fight or you lose the fight. That's half the battle. Fear. You winning or you losing with fear. See, fear, it helps me. Fear pushes me. Because my uncle taught me when I was little, some of the hardest fights was won with fear. And so I use fear to drive me. And whatever I'm doing, if I fear, I'm going to work hard at victory and conquering that. And so because I was afraid that this man was going to take advantage of me, that this man was going to be able to get them coveralls down off of me, I used that fear and the fight kicked in. But there are some women who have fear and there's no fight behind it. And I was just so fearful that they could not get away from him. They couldn't get away from him. But that is what I'm talking about. Those are victims, not people that consent and then want to cry victim because you had a rough time. You went through that stuff, and there's some things that, you know, when I listen to the briefings of the trial, I'm like, well, you know, I can't personally, I wouldn't do it, but I can't judge someone else for doing it. You understand? People are gonna make their own decisions. If that's what you like, that's what you like, and I'm not gonna get into it. You understand? And I'm talking about the legal aspects of what they were doing. Some things are just consensual, and even though you don't agree with it as a person morally, doesn't mean that somebody gotta listen to you just because you don't agree with it. So I keep my opinions to myself. If it turns you on, whatever floats your boat. But at some point, you become consensual. You may have started off as a victim, but you actually consented to more than what you needed to consent to where it would lead a person to believe that you was down for whatever. That you was down for whatever. I was very confused with the briefings that I was getting from Diddy, because I wanted to believe that, you know, it was an assault, it was trafficking. I wanted to believe it. Why? Because I was a victim, and I would never turn my back on someone who says that they are a victim. I want to help you. I want to believe you. I will believe you first and then find out whether or not you're telling the truth, because I was a victim and I know how scary it is to come forward. I just started talking about my incident. I just started talking and sharing with others about my incident, and this thing happened in like 1997, 98. I just started talking about it. And let me tell you another thing about my situation. I had a bad leg. I had a bad ankle. I had at that time, I think I had either one or two surgeries. I had two on my ankle, but I know I had one because I was still in a brace. But when you are being victimized, when you have to protect yourself, you do what you have to do. You do what's necessary. And I fought with that bad ankle, and I believe that he felt that because I was in an ankle, I was easy prey. But he didn't know that P-Town women don't, we don't just bend and balled up. Not the ones that was during my time. The ones that was born in the 70s, baby. The ones in the 70s, we're not doing that. We're not doing it. The ones that was born in the 70s, we don't just balled up. We don't just ball up. So listen, I want you to be careful. I want you to be mindful, because I didn't realize this battery is not all the way together. But I want you to be mindful of what you do, how you do it, how you move, because there's a thin line between being a victim and being consensual, okay? And we don't want any mistakes. We want a clear line on what's not acceptable, okay, and what is acceptable. We want to make sure that we carry ourselves in a way that we don't send mixed messages. Okay, we want to make sure everything is clear across the board. And I hope you understand what I'm saying, whether it be in male or female or anything. You are not to be violated. We are not to be violated. So we have to send a message so that when we call for help, something that I did not do, when we reach out for assistance, we are clear as to what happened. There's no question in it. There's not going to be any kind of, did she want it or did he want it? Did he call for it? You know, did he send the improper message? No, there will be no question that we made it clear. Why? Because we're saying it. Leave me alone. This is unacceptable. I don't want this. Stop touching me. Don't touch me there. You know, we're giving out the proper commands, okay? And we're fighting it off and we're calling for help. Please call for help. Don't let it keep going on and going on and going on and going on and going on. Please stop it. Stop it at the root, which is the root. Stop it at the root, okay? Because you don't want to be a victim that's mistaken for a consensual party, okay? We don't want that. If you're a victim, we want to show that you have been victimized, and we want the assailants to be brought to justice. Don't do what I did and keep silent, which most of us normally do. But I'm telling you, relieve yourself, and get you some help. Remember that God loves you. I love you. Make sure you love yourself, and you can go on and properly love someone else. Until we shall meet again, may you have a tremendous blessing.